ask anything you want about it, and easier for me to answer. The actual mantra used is a secret. We're asked never to say it out loud for various reasons I'll tell you about. So it may not necessarily follow that you will all have had the same mantra. But we have been asked by the Shankaracharya, the head of the northern division of the tradition of meditation, to which we belong, all of us, to try and use a mantra which is meant to be an all-purpose mantra throughout the world whenever we can. We have other mantras, and if there's difficulty or anything like that, we can give them. But where possible, we become united with the head of the tradition and with each other by using the same mantra. But in those cases where people have been well and truly initiated into meditation in some other tradition, we try not to change their mantra. Shankaracharya is very strong in the idea that once a mantra has taken root in a person, it shouldn't be changed. So this policy we've adopted when asked in this present session. Is that all clear to people? Certainly, ever since 1960, when the meditation came to the Western world through the Maharishi, who taught us here and who empowered some of us to give the meditation, we have found that there are practically no difficulties at all connected with the actual mantra used. It's always difficulties of the relationship of the individual and the different parts of his mechanism to the mantra rhythm and the meditation system. So I don't think, my wife and I have been around the world giving it in all sorts of conditions in different countries and so on. And people are all very much alike. And again, we say that there are no difficulties we found connected with the actual mantra itself. Now, it's very important you get it right. It consists of 3 letters and a single syllable. There is no fourth letter. There's no second syllable to rhyme with palm, and just a single syllable. That all clear. Very important not to add a syllable or alter it in any way, because it's been proved over 6,000 years to work in the way it does, because it's related to the law of 3 forces and the 3 gunas in the Eastern terminology. That all clear too. But I've done as usual. I've done a lot of talking to set things going. But really, we want to hear your observations, and they might be, you might think them terrible, you might think them impertinent or irrelevant or anything, but we wouldn't think that, because none of us is a very good meditator. Nobody can call themselves A-level meditators. So we're not proud on the subject, but do ask anything you want. And not only about difficulties. Has anybody had anything really nice happen to them? Now go on babbling a bit until the spirit moves you. And do you want to know anything about the initiation ceremony? Or is that all clear? I have it. Words of it here you can get from the office here, the English translation of it. We've tried, or people have tried, introducing a friend to the meditation without it, and it just doesn't work. And there are reasons for that. So we subscribe to the request that we should always give the meditation in the traditional way with this traditional initiation ceremony. Let the impure become pure, apavitra pavitra va. All that is within and all that is without is purified by keeping the divine name in mind. And the divine name is the important part. That's why we don't want to alter it. And then all the different offerings, water, water to wash in, cloth, represented by the handkerchief, rice, flowers, fruit, incense, food, drinking water, and then various spices which you get in India if you're asked out to lunch by some wealthy person. We have about up to 40 different small dishes with different spices in front of it. And when we have lunch at the ashram of the Shankaracharya, which we do each time we go, the people of the ashram serve us with all these dishes, and they like seeing the faces we make when they're too hot. And they keep pressing more and more onto it. But here, at the initiation ceremony, they've only mentioned betel and coconut and one or two other things, and rice has to do, the rice has to do for all these different spices. So that's how it always has been. And that's how we do it. And the final invocation, after the camphor flame, camphor meaning consciousness, which burns without residue, the camphor flame, and then the final invocation. The master is Brahma, the creator of all that is good and worthwhile in life. The master is Vishnu, the maintainer of all that is good and worthwhile in life. And the master is Maheshvara, which is another name for Shiva, the destroyer of ignorance and all that is unwanted in life. And then finally, Guru Sakshat Param Brahma, the unmanifested divinity, the oneness which exists in the threeness throughout the universe. Any questions about that?
Well, you said that the meditation does not work without the initiation ceremony. Why is that?
The two are one, and if you leave half a thing out, it's only half a thing. I only mentioned that, for instance, we gave the meditation to Sybil Thorndike, and I didn't see her for some time, and then I met up with her again. She said, oh, it's going fine, and what's her husband's name? Lewis Cass. And Lewis is doing it beautifully. We do it together. And I said, oh, who gave it to him? She said, I did. But there was no holding her. But it didn't last a week. That's all I mean. Things like that happen. But no, we are asked to give it in the traditional way because we are part of this tradition. And if we depart from the tradition one step, we depart more and more steps in due course. That's really the thing.
Well, have received the macro say, are these levels all of the mind?
Could you?
Yes.
I'm not absolutely certain I got what he wanted.
Yeah, when you initiated us, you spoke of the three centers that control the speed of the meditation.
Yeah.
Are these levels of consciousness, or are they something else?
I'd like to broaden the subject because a great deal has been discovered scientifically since the meditation was introduced in 1960. One of the first things that's been discovered, rediscovered scientifically, is the bilaterality of the whole nervous system and the organism. And they've discovered and proved about the two hemispheres, which are both looking on and seeing life in their own way, but with quite different apparatus and with quite different results. So that we are, in fact, two people seeing the world. The one, an outward-going individual who deals in words and can communicate, operating in the left hemisphere, which is where the speech centers are, and which has always been called in our system as personality. And the other, the quiet, inward-looking hemisphere, the right, which has always been known as the essence. You see? Now, the essence is hidden in everybody. We only see and communicate with the personality. But the meditation is supposed to work in the essence. And it will never work if only the personality, the left hemisphere, gets it and repeats the mantra and operates it. It never works. It becomes dull and boring and monotonous. And the object of the meditation is, in fact, yoga, the union of both hemispheres so that they both work as one. Because the meditation that we use is derived from Raja Yoga, the yoga of consciousness. And consciousness can only be one, and consciousness comes by the union of the two sides of our nature. I don't know if I've made this complicated subject more complicated. It has to start by a word entering the speech centers in the left hemisphere at the initiation. But very quickly, in 1 in 5 people, it goes straight across to the other one, or within the first minute or two and begins to operate itself. When I say to people, it should run by itself, very soon it'll take root and run by itself, the way a tune does. I said to most of you that. That's when it goes across from the left hemisphere, the personality, and gets into the essence. And then it will evolve of its own to all the inner structure, the autonomic nervous system over which we have no control with our will, and gradually bring one to the source of consciousness and happiness, which I have described to you as the divine self. You get that? So it has to go through a series of steps that it evolves naturally, taking you to the peace and unity which is its end and object. Now, the difficulty of this is that although there are many scientific descriptions of these two hemispheres, notably one in the UNESCO Courier last year, very learned and contains absolutely everything about nerve cells and what you could possibly know. It's all done with the dominant hemisphere. So it never understands the point of view of that very important inward-looking hemisphere, the essence. It's always defining what the quiet hemisphere should be doing in terms of the dominant one, see? And the only way to discover what the inner part of our nature should be doing is by experiencing ourselves, by self-study, self-observation, and with the help of the meditation, which is thrown a lot of light on it. Now, each level of the nervous system is composed of three: the thinking, the knowing and thinking, emotion and being, and action, voluntary or involuntary. It's like a three-roomed house. And this applies to both hemispheres. So really there are 6 divisions in psychology. Can we get back to his question?
I think we have.
Yeah. You don't have to think of all this in connection with meditation, you see. Just, but go on.
Just to clarify, there is Sanskrit word. I'm talking on a hero. I'm describing myself, discriminating people, and all in the path, all in the application. How these relate to this structure and describing that.
Because how the faculties of chitta and buddhi and manas, in fact, relate to this structure that you've just set out.
Well, they do very, very well. But you have to know quite a lot about each. And it would take me a rather long time to explain. Yeah. So it's better to, if you're going to use the Indian words, to keep to the definitions given you with them. Because they are related to consciousness. Ordinary psychology is not. It's related to mechanisms. And therefore, they don't quite fit. See? But briefly, the chitta is the reflection in the mirror of our psychology of the pure consciousness, which is like the light, the consciousness of the Atman or divine self. So Chitta is all the consciousness we have, depending on how good the reflection is in the mirror. Buddhi, a manas is the mechanism by which vibrations from the environment are transformed into experiences within our consciousness. And nobody knows how that is done. It's coded, all the impressions coming in through our sense organs are coded and pass from center to center, and according to what paths they go through in the individual, so the ultimate destination and their function is determined. So this is all mechanism, and it's very quick, and it operates below the threshold of consciousness. It used to be called by Freud the subconscious mind. Now, buddhi is the power of deciding what of all that is going to be useful to you. Buddhi is the power of discrimination, and it's not commonly in operation. Most people just go ahead. The meditation wakes the buddhi up so that it knows very clearly in the moment what is useful and what is not to the divine self. In fact, the buddhi is like our chauffeur would be if our chauffeur always listened to what we said. Get us through the day, he would take us to whatever destination the owner of the car wants. It's an entirely human thing. No animal has buddhi. Entirely human, and it's ideally human and not common property. Anyway, it fits, and I would love to show you sometime how it fits, but we can't go into it too much today. In any case, the buddhi has no function in meditation at all. You are the person meditating as one person. You don't think about all these different parts. You are the meditator. You are using a certain system of meditation, and you are going to be taken by that to the object of meditation, which is the self, the pure consciousness. And those three must be one in meditation. They must unite. The meditator, the mantra and its rhythm, and the object of meditation, the divine self. And that's all that matters in meditation, and you mustn't know too much during meditation. Meditation is giving up all that knowledge, all those thoughts, and going to the silence. That's they learn all about this. They learn in the School of Economics now. It's not really my business. But as regards the two sides, I made it sound awfully clever and scientific and all that, but you know, it's been known a very long time, and we've had to leave it to great writers, painters, and artists to depict for ordinary people what this inner world is like. And one of the people who's given us the clearest picture is our old friend Lewis Carroll. And the best picture I know is Alice Through the Looking Glass. And I'm going to read the crucial bit to you. Alice is getting to the point of changing from the ordinary room into looking glass room. Now, if you'll only attend, Kitty, and not talk so much, I'll tell you all my ideas about Looking Glass House. First, there's the room you can see in the glass. That's just the same as this room, only things go the other way. All but the bit just behind the fireplace. The books are something like our books, only the words go the wrong way. I know that because I've held up one of our books to the glass. How nice it would be if we could only get through into Looking Glass House. I'm sure it's got oh such beautiful things in it. Let's pretend, Alice's favorite word, let's pretend there's a way of getting into it somehow. Let's pretend the glass has got all soft like gauze. Why, it's turning into a sort of mist now. Now, I declare. It'll be easy enough to get through. She was up in the chimney piece while she said this, though she hardly knew how she got there. And certainly the glass was beginning to melt away, just like a bright silvery mist. In another moment, Alice was through the glass and had jumped down into Looking Glass room, like we do in meditation. The very first thing she did was to look whether there was a fire in the fireplace, and she was quite pleased to see that there was a real one, blazing away as brightly as the one she'd left behind. So I should be as warm here as I was in the old room, thought Alice. Warmer, in fact, because there'll be no one here to get me away from the fire. They may see me, but they can't get at me. Then she began looking about and noticed that what could be seen from the old room was quite common and uninteresting, but all the rest was as different as possible. For instance, the pictures on the wall next the fire seemed to be all alive, and the very clock on the chimney piece, you know, you can only see the back bit in the looking glass, had got the face of a little old man and grinned at her. And there's no time or distinction of time and space in the dream world of Looking Glass House. They don't keep this room so tidy as the other, thought Alice to herself, as she noticed several of the chessmen down in the hearth among the cinders. But in another moment she was down on her hands and knees watching them. The chessmen were walking about in a certain pattern, 2 and 2. Well, the rest of the book is a very good picture of the dream world. And although we can't expect to see the same dream world as the Reverend Dodgson and his little girlfriend, I mean, we can't expect to see chessmen or talking tiger lilies or Tweedledum, Tweedledee, or Lion in Unicorn or Humpty Dumpty. What we all share is that we all start on the 3rd square of the chessboard and get crown queen on the 8th square if we persist over a reasonably long time in giving up all our self-will and become so that we are not interfered with by this dominant hemisphere which governs everything in the ordinary way. Every time that interferes, it takes us in the opposite direction. So, meditation is a way of getting into a new dimension, the looking glass world. But in meditation, we mustn't stop to look at the view. We mustn't stop to get down on our hands and knees and examine this and that and the other. We have to go straight through to the silence. Afterwards, when we finish with a half hour, at any other time, we begin to see all kinds of sources of creativity in ourselves which we never realized before, which come from this inner room. I don't know if this, you went along with that at all, but there are many descriptions by writers and artists of this dream world. But the world we're making for, the causal world, is the union of the ordinary daytime world and the dream world. They have to unite, work in harmony, and then the miraculous really does happen.
I don't know whether you heard that question. It was, what does mantra mean?
Word. Sanskrit for word. Nothing very complicated. Like St. John's Gospel, in the beginning was the Word. The Word was God, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. In fact, it's almost certain that the inner circle of the writers of the Gospels and the central figure used a form of meditation using a mantra, because there are many references to it in the Gospel, but we don't know, we've never been able to discover what the mantra was or in what language. Was it in Greek or was it in Aramaic or what?
No, Mr. Alvarez, I didn't catch your question. No, the questioner was wondering whether, with the use of the word transcendental by certain groups offering meditation,
We don't deal with what
in
other
fact
groups do. I mean, there's so many groups, and so many gurus, and so many systems, and so many religions, all fighting each other. We have to attend to our own business. Actually, there's nothing wrong in the word transcendental. It means that the physical sound of the word is gradually lost, and it transcends into the spiritual meaning of the word, where it's simply a presence without any physical characteristics whatever, as it goes towards the sound. That's all.
Yes, can you explain how the mantra moves from one side to the other side, the two hemispheres which you were speaking of earlier, from becoming one where it has to be done to one of non-effort?
In ordinary people, the whole structure is connected up all through what's called the corpus callosum and the hemispheres. I can show you in the map of the brain anytime you like. Everything actually crosses and recrosses. And in a sound, which is heard by one hemisphere and is pinpointed and pigeonholed by that one, is also heard going across the midline by the other one and is judged emotionally or aesthetically by the other one. So it's quite natural that the sound of the mantra should be given one side and go to the other side and keep coming and going between the two. Everything does.
Yeah. The question is that you mentioned earlier that in one person in five, the mantra very rapidly crosses from one side to the other. Is there any way which this can be
That's
affected?
what we want to know so badly.
And the gentleman concerned has this difficulty.
Well, yes. Now, if only we could discover this. It's nobody's fault, you see. People have made differently. But if only we could discover how it could be made easier for 4 out of 5 people, we'd love it. I have the same difficulty. I always have that. I'm with you entirely. I think the Shankaracharya has suggested a vast number of ways. Obviously, we have to get out of our personality. This side, this part of us which is always talking and laying down the law and dictating to other people. I don't know if you're one of those, but we all are to some extent. And let it all quieten down, drop off. And it's the meaning of become as little children. Except you turn again and become as little children, you shall in no wise enter the kingdom of heaven. So the 1 in 5 are more simple, childlike, less clever, erudite. But we can all become like that. It's just a question of taking a little more time, having a little more patience. But it's perfectly extraordinary. Sometimes how it happens, a person, you never can guess beforehand who's going to do which, but a person will suddenly, they come in looking a bit dismal perhaps. Just another confidence trick, you know. I've been had before, this sort of look they have in their face, and then they begin. And then you explain to them to let it go as it wants to, see? And suddenly it will hit the spot, and they'll get up quite transformed, laughing and happy, and it's as if they've been looking for some buried treasure all their lives, and they suddenly find it. And that stays forever down inside. We often forget it, but it's there for keeps. Now, everybody in this room is going to have that at some time or another. So one mustn't be impatient, and one mustn't be jealous of somebody who gets it in 1, because they have their difficulties. If they get it in 1 at the initiation, then they may go long months and even years without getting the same thing again, and they get very frustrated. It's like the hare and the tortoise, the Shankaracharya said. The hare starts off in fine form and gets so far ahead of the tortoise that it goes to sleep under a tree. And the tortoise slowly, solidly comes by and gets past him to the winning pace.
Is it a common experience that one should experience the mantra at different rhythms and at the same time notice the invading thoughts? When I finished meditating, I wondered whether one should have tried to exclude the incoming thoughts.
No, I am entirely with the first part of this. Yes, it's quite a frequent experience that you notice the various rhythms of the mantra and also the thoughts, but you mustn't turn your attention away from the mantra rhythm to the thoughts, or they increase and increase. They don't try to exclude thoughts, or don't bother with the thoughts, don't do anything about the thoughts. Just come away back to the mantra. And what you attend to, that becomes important. There's a story which some of you may have heard, but somebody went to a meditation expert in India to be told about it. And the meditation expert, the expert said, before we get on to describing and giving you the meditation, just tell me if you noticed anything on the way here. And the man said, thought for some time, the only thing I noticed was a monkey in a tree making rude faces. And so the expert said, well, go into the next room and try and get that monkey out of your head. And after about 20 minutes, the man came back pouring with perspiration and said, the monkey is getting bigger and bigger. And so the expert said, now, young man, just realize that the meditation is to stop you excluding things. The mind doesn't like being made to toe the line, do something. But when I give you the meditation, you come away from that monkey naturally, and all the other thousands of monkeys you picked up in the course of your life, you come away onto the meditation itself. That's why this mantra meditation is very clever. It gives you something to turn your attention to, but after a little while, even the mantra itself appears to disappear, goes below the threshold of consciousness, and you merely feel that there's something there. So don't hold on to it and try and bring it back and nail it, but just let it take you to the peace and disappear if it wants to. Got that, Hannah? So now, I want to try an experiment. One of the ways that you and I have tried to get out of our personalities is to drop the personal aspect of this altogether. And I would suggest now that for 2 or 3 minutes, we just sat and meditated with our eyes shut. We've all had it quite recently, know each other. We're all one. And as the Shankaracharya says, in meditation, I shall be meeting you. So let us just meditate for a few moments, and then I'd like to read you something from him. Nice meditating with you. I forgot the time, and it's nearly 10 minutes, 8 minutes. You tell Mr. McLaren that we tried out his suggestion in one form. Max, would you like to read one of the answers given to Mr. Whiting when one time he was with the Shankaracharya, the head of the School of Meditation here? I think there isn't much time. It's 4:15. Should we just read the letter? It's about this very question, a bridge between the two sides of our nature. Yeah. The repetition of the sound of the mantra is of many types.
It can be loud, mild, or even silent. It can be fast or slow. But it is repetitive and involves time and rhythm. One takes a mantra and repeats it over and over again, or allows it to be repeated. The state of yoga, although it means unity of the self with the universal also means dropping off all activity. Activity is the product of desire and ambition. So yoga means dropping off all desires. These desires are obstacles in the way of the ever-present unity of the self and the absolute. The practice of meditation by itself is not an isolated act. It is a journey from the start of a mantra to the end of all agitation. This is a bridge over which one needs to throw one's belongings of desires and activities while walking towards the other end. The act of repetition itself has no meaning. Although a mantra repeated and sounded would naturally create its sattvic effect, yet just this is not enough. The practice of meditation demands relinquishing activity. At one end of the bridge is the start of an activity, and at the other end is the stillness, the immobility. The practice of meditation between these 2 points is to pick up the mantra, embark on the activity of repetition, and with the help of the mantra, allow everything, even the mantra, to disappear without doing anything extra. The rhythm of activity will settle down to come to a complete stillness, not of a void, but of fullness, which is the presence of the self.
Well, it helps to adopt Alice's suggestion of let's pretend. Let's pretend that it's easy to get to the quiet, and let's pretend that this meditation and this mantra are bound to get you there in the long run. It's much better pretending there than pretending it's all terribly difficult and I'm not the sort of person who would ever be able to meditate. Now, you want to say various things to them. I'll say goodbye and I hope you have a happy holiday. And in meditation,
I did just want to take this opportunity of saying something about another matter which has come up in the last few days, about a series of lectures which the school will be holding during the summer holidays, to which I thought some of you might well be interested and like to come along. There are a series of 5 lectures on, they all have the title of the elements, and they're to be on the elements of religion, the elements of government, the elements of architecture, the elements of creation, and the elements of government. They're being held at a house which we have in Hampstead. But I just thought, as there's no other opportunity of you hearing about this, we might like to hear about it tonight. And if any of you are interested, then there are details available for that. Apart from that, if I can join Dr. Rolls in wishing you a peaceful and happy and useful vacation. Thank you very much. And there are, as always, some refreshments down below.
highest person, provided